Frankie, aside from having to talk to this guy, how's your day going so far?
Uh, Another day in paradise, man. My day's great. Hope your day's doing good so far.
I think so. By the way, does anyone call you Frank? Is that an honor that you elevate to?
My dad was Frank. So I have a couple buddies from grade school that I grew up with. A couple of them call me Frank, but no, I've always been Frankie because my dad was Big Frank, so I was always Frankie.
Wow, so it's not a Debbie Gibson thing, like you grew up and I'm Deborah or Frank. So,
If you knew my old man, there could only be one Frank. So I'm forever Frankie. Yeah.
Forever Frankie. That should be a future character, Forever Frankie.
Yeah.
But anyway, thank you for taking the time. It's great to see you're going to be part of Bound for Glory. How long did you have to keep that a secret that would be happening?
So I had spoke with Scott Demore, over the summer after my last appearance there, and we talked about maybe if there would be an opportunity for me to come back at some point. So we, kind of went back and forth, and I've known for a little bit, so it's cool. I like keeping secrets. I like, I think wrestling needs a little bit more of the unexpected. So it's cool to be a part of something that you don't see happen every day in our crazy world of pro wrestling.
Right. And it's great to see you go between companies in a positive way. Is this still the forbidden door, or is that an outdated term?
I don't know. I just, I've never really called it that. But I am very fortunate. I'm blessed that Scott Demore is allowing me to kind of come and revisit what made me who I am as a wrestler in Impact, and I'm very grateful that Tony Khan has opened that door, no pun intended, and allowed that to be possible. It's really cool.
The Impact roster is really interesting in that it's a mix of future stars, people you've seen on TV, current stars, all that kind of stuff. I'd have to assume that you knew 90% of the locker room before coming back to Impact.
Yeah, I always kind of have my finger on the pulse of what's going on, and there are guys that I just met for the first time coming back to Impact, some of the younger guys, but a lot of guys, the Motor City Machine Guns, I've known those guys for 20 years, and a lot of people that work behind the cameras, in production, and just a lot of additional folks. So yeah, it's always kind of a cool like homecoming, but it's also cool to get in there and see the kind of the new crop of men and women carrying the torch for Impact Wrestling.
This is a compliment. There's no backhanded thing coming after that. That's just the warning. So I look at your generation as being the top of wrestling now. And we're seeing the people that you started with, they're the world champions. They're the locker room leaders, to use a stupid, outdated term, but they're the people headlining the shows. When did you start to notice that the people that you were coming up with were the main draw as opposed to the opening bouts?
Honestly, over the last, several years, after leaving TNA Impact Wrestling in 2014 and spending 5 years in Ring of Honor, and, in that time, seeing what AJ Styles has done, for example, and, finally getting that opportunity in WWE and, taking the ball and running with it and scoring touchdown after touchdown. And, you think guys like Seth Rollins, who was a stalwart at Ring of Honor, and the work he's done, and Samoa Joe, like just that crop of people, like, is now running professional wrestling on television. And it's cool to see. It took a long time. I've been doing this close to 25 years. So it's and I still, part of me still feels like a young kid that's just, kind of blessed and psyched to do this every week. So it's cool to be kind of that elder statesman and to see my friends and my peers, main eventing and headlining and being on top of the card in professional wrestling right now.
Youngest elder statesman, for the record.
Right. Yeah. You're right. Yeah.
You might be old in the world of professional wrestling, but you're probably the one person without back pain.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. That's just it. Until I start performing like I'm an old man, I'm not going to consider myself an old man. So.
Well, the level that you're at right now is very enviable. Was there ever a moment where you said, hey, maybe this is going to end in a year or two? Or are you one of those positivity people that is always pushing forward?
I mean, I'm always of the mindset that I am going to do this until I uh, physically can't, and or know that I'm going to go out there and I'm just a parody of myself. Early on in my career, there were certainly times and pitfalls and perils, and there was times when I was like, why am I putting so much work into this? And you're not seeing the results that you want. But you just got to work hard and push through that. And especially as I get older, I train smart, I eat smart, I'm very cognizant of health and fitness, and it's almost now a battle against myself to see how good I am, if I can still hang, if I can still have high level matches, which I can, and I've proved that. So uh, I now have a greater appreciation for that. Though when I was younger, it was just another match. I now have a greater appreciation every time I'm in the ring. That this is something I've been blessed to do for, again, almost 25 years, and to still do it at a top level, and to still do it with guys that are coming up and going to be that next generation. It's a cool spot to be in, like you said.
So it's not the farewell Bound for Glory by any stretch of the imagination.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, a couple years ago, you would ask me if I was ever going to be in another Bound for Glory. I would have said absolutely not, because it didn't seem like it was on the bingo card, so to speak. But wrestling in 2022 is strange, different. Expect the unexpected. So
Yeah.
you don't know what's going to happen. I'm thrilled to be at this one. That's all I know, and I'm going to certainly make the most of it.
Outside of wrestling, you've also done pretty good with music. Is Gutter Candy still active?
Yep, Gutter Candy's still active. We are currently rehearsing and playing local gigs. The next big gig is obviously the Jericho Cruise next year in early February. Gutter Candy is going to finally play that, which has been cool. That's been a couple years in the works. Jericho's a real good buddy of mine, and we've been talking about it. And this year, it was able to work out schedule wise. So the guys are really psyched for that. I'm psyched for that. I've been on every cruise so far, and I've wrestled and played music on every cruise, so it's cool. I'm really looking forward to that, and really looking forward for those guys to get to experience that. And the fans, anybody that's been on those cruises can tell you they're just an absolute blast.
Right. I've had the pleasure of being on 2 of them, seeing you in action as a musician, as a wrestler. For Gutter Candy to be playing on an upcoming cruise, is there an 80s set as part of it, or is it all originals?
Well, so we our mantra is basically, we were like we deemed ourselves the band 1987 Forgot, and we did a lot of 80s and 90s hard rock radio hits for covers, but we also do a lot of originals. Lately, the last show we played the Whiskey out here in Hollywood, and that set was very, very much original heavy. We have a lot of new originals that we were doing, and we're kind of really messing with our set list and kind of getting away from just the Sunset Strip stuff and really throwing some different stuff, some 90s alternative stuff, and some stuff from Elvis, just stuff that's going to blow people's mind, really, but just turning it all into, putting Gutter Candy's, stamp on it. It's so we're really working on that, a special kind of set for the cruise.
Now, you mentioned Jericho, and Jericho was fortunate enough to be able to take Fozzy from a fun on the side band to a real band that does radio campaigns and tours the world. Gutter Candy, is that part of the eventual plan? Is music your long-term thing, or is it just a for fun thing between wrestling tours?
Well, music is something that obviously I'm not going to be able to wrestle forever, but I'll be able to play the bass guitar a long time after my days in the ring are done. So music's always been a part of my life. It's always going to be. I'm always going to be playing music, whether it's in a band or by myself. So yeah, I mean, I would like to push Gutter Candy as far as we could. I'd like to get more ears and more eyeballs on it, and just get it out to the masses. We got new material coming out, as I mentioned earlier, and it's definitely something I'm always going to do and going to push. And God willing, if I can still, have the time to balance wrestling and music and everything else, I'm going to do it.
Did I also hear correctly a couple of years ago you have a cigar company, or had a cigar company?
Still do. Yep. We just passed our 4-year anniversary, American Rebel Cigars. It's co-owned by myself and Cody Rhodes, and another good pal of mine, also a business partner, and our business partner, Sam Lucia of Stogie Bird. And that was something we kind of just discussed and said, we were both cigar aficionados, and, just started kicking around, why don't we have our own cigar? And made it happen. We literally put it out there in the universe and made it happen. And like I said, we just celebrated our 4-year anniversary. It's still going strong. People love the cigars, and another cool kind of side hustle, passion project. To have my name on a cigar is pretty cool for a guy that's a bit of a cigar aficionado. It's another thing I've been blessed to do because of pro wrestling.
Are you one of the from your generation? A lot of wrestlers seem to have done well in real estate because of Joe Gomez. Are you one of them too?
No, I was one of the guys that, when I first started making decent money in the early 2000s, I was, buying big screen TVs and having all my friends over and, buying a bunch of booze and stuff. And yeah, I was at, I've always been very good with my money. Don't get me wrong. But, God, I could kick myself now for not going back and investing in some real estate, especially out here in Southern California. There's some land that I could have picked up that I'd be sitting on right now. That would be, but you can't,
hindsight,
right. Exactly. Hindsight's a it's a bitch, isn't it? So, if I'm ever asked, I always tell people that, like, if you are fortunate enough to have money to invest in real estate and stuff like that, especially when you're young, and if you can sit on it, it's going to pay dividends.
The last question I have before I let you go is, how many times a day these days do you have to say, do ya?
You know what? It's been a while. That's kind of when the BTE bits were running hot and heavy. It was, I definitely got requests, or when we would do signings and meet and greets and those type of things, which is I haven't really done any of those in the last several years. And it would be a lot of requests, or when I used to have a cameo type thing that I participated in, a lot of people asked me to do that. But I haven't done it in a while. BTE is kind of a thing of the past for me, at least at this point in time.
Right.
It's always in there. I could always break out that do ya character, so to speak. He still lives in here. So